sustainability can sow the Ladies and gentlemen, requesting everyone to please settle down and put your phones on silent mode as we will be starting the event shortly.
An enduring legacy rooted in tradition. Family-led businesses have been the timeless custodians of India's spirit. They understand the nation's heartbeat, guiding its journey with wisdom and resilience. To celebrate their legacy and pave the way for future generations to forge upon their success, we proudly present the third edition of the Indian Family Business Awards, co-created by Waterfield Advisors and Money Control Pro, with process partners PwC. Money Control Pro, India's leading financial news platform and the trusted destination for all things business, has once again partnered with Waterfield Advisors, the trailblazer. Presents Money Control Pro, Indian Family Business Awards 2023. Process partner, PwC.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Waterfield Presents Money Control Pro Indian Family Business Awards 2023. Process partner, PwC. Please put your hands together for your host, Chandra R. Shrikant.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me. And this is amazing, full house on a Tuesday evening. A huge round of applause, everyone. Let's get the energy levels up in the room. You can do better, Delhi. I mean, some more momentum, some more energy, bigger round of applause. You'll need a lot of energy because we have a whole host of winners all evening for the next 3 hours. But a very, very good evening to all of you and a very warm welcome to the third edition of the Indian Family Business Awards by Money Control Pro, co-created with Waterfield Advisors and process partner PwC. Now, this is a platform that seeks to recognize and celebrate the contributions of family firms who make up for a lion's share of India Inc. and have been vital to the country's economic rise. I'm your host, Chandra R. Shrikant from Money Control. Now, the eagerly anticipated Indian Family Business Awards is back for a scintillating third edition, reaffirming its role in celebrating the contributions of family businesses to India's economy. As the bedrock of the nation's economic landscape, these enterprises epitomize resilience, innovation, and enduring community values. Network 18 and Waterfield Advisors are thrilled to once again host this prestigious event, highlighting the exceptional growth, governance, and innovation demonstrated by business families across the country. Indian family businesses, many tracing their lineage back to pre-independence India, have consistently propelled economic growth and stability, serving as the cornerstone for many of India's corporate behemoths. Family businesses are alchemists, seamlessly fusing traditional values with contemporary strategies, thereby fortifying their resilience in the face of economic uncertainty. The Indian Family Business Awards 2023 is more than just an event. It's a movement celebrating the essence of family enterprises that have shaped India's economy and society. With a spotlight on the most illustrious family enterprises, this event will be a spectacular fusion of tradition, innovation, and celebration. So expect an evening filled with inspiring stories, riveting performances, and sheer moments of grandeur as we honor the trailblazers of Indian industry. May I now welcome Soumya Rajan, the founder and CEO of Waterfield Advisors, to deliver the welcome address. A huge round of applause for Soumya.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed partners, guests, and friends. It is a privilege to stand before you today in order to come together as we celebrate the third edition of the Indian Family Business Awards, an event that highlights the true resilience, the ingenuity, and the impact of family businesses. On behalf of Waterfield Advisors, India's largest independent multinational multi-family office and independent wealth advisory company, it is really an honor and occasion for us to welcome you all this evening. This year, we are indeed very, very proud to host the evening in partnership with Money Control and CNBC TV 18, who are two of the most trusted financial media platforms, alongside with PwC, our esteemed knowledge partner, whose insights continue to shape the way in which we understand family businesses. But as we gather here tonight, let us just pause for a moment and reflect on the sheer magnitude of what family businesses in India do contribute. 70% of India's GDP comes through family businesses. This is one of the highest globally. 79% of our workforce, which is employed in the private sector, is employed by family businesses. And in one of the panel discussions that we have today, we're seeing that family businesses, through their family offices, are getting more active in deals in terms of the private sector and encouraging younger companies with capital as well as with mentorship. But beyond the numbers, there is something which is much more profound in family businesses that at Waterfield we have had the privilege to see and have had a ringside view of. And that is really around how family businesses actually provide succession in terms of one generation after the next, and what is the secret ingredients that actually make the transition successful. What we've seen at Waterfield is that it's built around family values, it's built around traditions, it's built around a long-term thinking, and it's also layered specifically with family governance structures, good ones, along with innovation and really a desire to ensure that there's effective succession planning. Really what this does is create legacies which are well beyond just what you see in terms of the business numbers or in profit margins. But for me, I think what really truly distinguishes a family business is really their unwavering focus on people, whether it is the employees that grow with them, the communities that they serve, or the clients and customers that they serve. This is something which is unique to them. And in today's awards function, we will actually celebrate those stories. We will celebrate the grit, the determination, we will celebrate the struggles, we will celebrate the successes. But each one of these stories comes to us in terms of the role that family businesses have played in nation building. To all the nominees and the winners tonight, I'd like to congratulate you on all your achievements. It is truly an opportunity which we see when values, vision, and innovation all come together. And quite clearly, they are going to be an integral part of India's growth story now and for the many decades beyond. Thank you all for being here. I do hope that it will be an evening which is both filled with inspiration as well as celebration for all the wonderful work that's been done by these family businesses. Thank you all. Have a wonderful evening and a warm welcome again.
Thank you for that Soumya. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it again with a huge round of applause for all the business families in the house, the pride and lifeblood of the nation. Moving on, may I now invite another crucial pillar of the Family Business Awards, Rahul Reiki, partner PwC, to give us his thoughts about these awards and the process they followed this year to pick out the winners. Rahul, please come up on stage.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege to be here. We at PwC were the process partners for India Family Business Awards 2023. The India family businesses are a legacy, evolving for growth. To stay attuned to the requirements of changing business landscape, the family businesses have adapted themselves to the changing market conditions and investment trends, balancing traditions with modernity, contributing to the domestic economic growth, and at the same time, moving ahead for global ambitions. The strategies of these family businesses are a perfect blend between traditions, wisdom, and agility. Indeed, the family businesses are the backbone of India's economic stability. At PwC, we work as trusted advisors for family businesses in India, helping them manage ownership and growth at every stage by providing support on financial and strategic initiatives, governance aspects, succession planning, and technology. No matter at what stage towards its journey to success of family businesses, we provide insights and solutions to help them move on to that journey at the desired pace. As the process partners for this edition of India Family Business Awards, I had the privilege to go through all the nominations and was amazed to see the contribution these companies have been making to growth, diversity, innovation, technology for the country. We followed a very rigorous process to evaluate the nominations across various parameters and presented to the jury. At the same time, what I'll want to conclude saying is, it is the spirit of entrepreneurship which will be awarded today. It is the spirit of family businesses which will be awarded today. So welcome, and let's move ahead with the journey. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for that, Ms. Reiki. Moving on to our first panel discussion of the evening. For many years now, one of the biggest bugbears is that we are too dependent on foreign capital. But is there more Atmanirbharta today when it comes to powering investment activity in the public and private markets? Are family offices emerging as the new investment engines for deal activity? May I call on stage our moderator for this discussion, my colleague Ashwin Mohan, Senior Editor, M&A Money Control. Ashwin's someone who takes 70 hours very seriously because he's breaking deal stories 7 days a week and giving us sleepless nights. Joining him on stage are our esteemed panelists for this discussion, spanning the north and south of the Vindhyas. Please welcome on stage Aditya Burman, Director, Dabur India, MD Ranganath, Chairman, Catamaran Ventures, Soumya Rajan, Founder and CEO, Waterfield Advisors, Dinesh Arora, Partner and Leader Deals, PwC India. A huge round of applause for all our panelists.
Good evening, Delhi. Great to see a packed hall. It's always a tough ask to take over from my colleague Chandra. Chandra, thanks for that very generous introduction. Well, we are going to kickstart today's show with a very, very interesting panel, which is perhaps at the heart of what many stakeholders in this hall are in fact involved in, which is, of course, the fact that are family offices today emerging as the new investment engines for deal activity in India? we really at Money Control couldn't have asked for a more stellar, diversified panel. We have the corporate perspective coming in from the Dabur Group. We have the family office perspective coming in from Catamaran Ventures. Thank you, Mr. Raghunath, for flying down from Bangalore. We have the investment advisory perspective coming in from Soumya Rajan, and of course the Big Four perspective from PwC. So before we kickstart, a big round of applause for all the panelists on stage. Right, so let's kickstart straight into this very, very interesting panel. Lots of exciting things that our panelists are looking forward to share. Soumya, let's start the panel with you, and let's address the public versus private markets debate, right? And that's always something that is considered when it comes to investment strategy. What a fabulous and sizzling year we have had in India in terms of the public markets, right? A record number of IPOs, a huge host of block deals. This year also saw India's largest ever IPO, the Hyundai India IPO. So in many aspects, this year for the Indian capital markets has been rather, it has been spectacular in terms of deal activity. But on the other hand, private markets, and that's where I want Soumya's perspective, because correct me if I'm not wrong, but over the past few years, the investments by family offices in private markets have sort of gone up. Soumya, what are the trends that you're observing in this space? Because at the end of the day, as a family office, you would want to give back to your ecosystem, right? Which is the entrepreneur ecosystem. Your initial thoughts?
Sure, thank you. So when it comes to family offices and investing, one of the things we as advisors always say is that you need to get the asset allocation right. I will say that in the last year or so, everyone thinks they're a fund manager because markets have done so spectacularly well that you think it's a one-way street. I would like to say that history has taught us otherwise, that markets do correct. And that's when the importance of asset allocation does come in. And what we've seen is really to hold the hands of families, clients during this period when public markets are so frothy or have been frothy. Now we've seen some moderation. To really say that, stick to the asset allocation. The strategic asset allocation is extremely important. And what we've seen is that when I first started the business in 2011, private markets was maybe 1 or 2% of families' overall allocation in private markets. Today, in the entire corpus that we ourselves manage, which is a little over 45,000 crores, almost about 15% is allocated toward private markets today on an aggregated basis. There will be families that take much higher exposure. There'll be families that take less. But what's interesting is that you have to stay true to that. And also, how do you make sure when you're investing, you have to be a little counterintuitive. So, in fact, this is the time when you should be looking at private markets because you're just coming out of a funding winter in many ways, and valuations have moderated significantly. But if you ask most families who may not have such evolved family office structures as who I'm sitting with on the panel, they may get a little too carried away with public markets. So my initial thoughts would be, you need an asset allocation, you need to be counterintuitive, and you need to expose yourself into categories and spaces in private markets which you don't have and you don't get the benefit of in public markets.
Right. Aditya, would you like to weigh in? Of course, the Dabur family has its fingers in many pies across sectors. You have a pretty intense background in healthcare per se, oncology. Those are certain sectors that excite you. Give us a sense how the division is, public versus private.
I think, and perhaps we're a little unique in this, in some regards because, Dabur is a publicly listed company and our family being significant shareholders of that makes up a significant chunk, which always skews the balance, of course, for anybody foolish enough to try and advise us, I should say. Jokes aside, we do get a lot of this, but, I feel that the family offices, at least in our key focus was always, Dabur on one side and then, all the other activities, and the rest of world, if you will.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Aditya, but you have a multi-family office and you also have
Exactly.
single-family offices,
So-
wherein
so-
you have a common vision, but you also have flexibility to chart your own courses, right?
Exactly. So we started off with a multi-family office where we have our 5 family units, all of us getting our advisory and activity and administration done from. And since then, it's, over time, various family members have done this in different ways. We've brought our own single family sort of advisory, which brings our own flavor, if you will. And yeah, we do split between public and private, but I think the private is definitely picking up now. And, one has to look at the size of the opportunity at times as well when you're allocating this capital. So I think that plays a large role, that you have now stuff in private that is of a certain size.
Right. Aditya was also telling me a very interesting anecdote when we chatted up earlier over the weekend about the origins of the Dabur family office, right? And how it happened post the divestiture of Dabur Pharma to Fresenius Kabi, which is an MNC. So
the office existed, of course, before that, but I think really what happened was that once, our family, we divested our shareholding in our pharma business, then everybody, you get that influx of capital, which you now start thinking, okay, what do we do with this? And that's when all the plans start coming up. Whether we follow them or not is always a question mark, but yeah, absolutely. And that made a big difference.
Sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Now let's turn our focus to one of the most successful and active family offices in India, and that, of course, is Catamaran Ventures. MD Ranganath, when Catamaran Ventures started many years back, the market wasn't really as crowded as it is today, right? There's a lot of competition today, a lot of intensity. Does that mean that Catamaran is now striking more deals? And also, what does the crowded market of family offices today mean when it comes to tying up and partnering with VCs for deals?
No, first of all, thanks for inviting Catamaran here. Great to be on this panel. I think, like any other family office, Catamaran has its own trajectory, as you rightly pointed out. I think initially, of course, it's all kind of saying, hey, what is the right asset allocation? What is the risk appetite of the family, right? And that's where what Soumya mentioned is very important, in the sense that, look, what is for example, in our case, we have a simple written expectation, which is we double our assets every 5 years, which is 15%. Because that kind of sets up what should be the asset allocation. Now, something unique for us, apart from the public and the private markets, has been our joint ventures, right? Joint ventures gave us a unique opportunity to bring some of the global players into India, whether it is Amazon or Aeon. At the same time, leverage our operating experience of scaling.
And you exited both, right? Amazon as well as Aeon.
Exited both. Yeah. So I think that was something unique. But increasingly what I see is that apart from, kind of investing in funds, and increasingly family offices are also looking at taking larger stakes together and sharing the risk in private companies,
all right,
which need growth capital. So I think that is something which is really coming up, and I think the bets are getting bigger and bigger over the years, and that is something we see over the course of years.
Oh, that'll be music to the ears of many targets looking at fundraising. Dinesh Arora, as the deals leader at PwC, you've heard the preliminary viewpoints of our co-panelists. One aspect that I want you to weigh in on is, what is the trend that you're observing when it comes to family office investments, direct versus through the fund structure? Because according to a recent report, Asia Pac family offices, according to that report, have a greater appetite for direct investments. What are you seeing on the ground, Dinesh?
I think both the options are available for family offices, and what we have seen is direct with making a SPV for investment would entirely depend on the deal size and how many people are participating. What we have seen is that family offices have a good bonhomie, and many of them get together to invest, and they bring in not only the required capital but diverse operating experience, which is very important for companies to grow. And many of the new entrepreneurs prefer to get capital from family offices, or at least a VC and a family office, which helps them in scaling up. So so it is the operating thing which is a determinant rather than the structure, and structure follows the operating needs of the deal.
Right. So opening remarks in from all our panelists. In fact, another interesting nugget. All of you here must have heard of the global private equity giant General Atlantic, right? How many of you knew that it had its origins in a family office? Soumya, you and I were discussing this earlier. So global private equity giant General Atlantic, it actually started as a family capital-led base, and then slowly and steadily it started looking at other family offices as sources for capital in the late 1980s. And today, of course, it's a huge private equity player. It has investments across sectors. Soumya, question for you. Is the Indian market ready for an example like this to emerge, or are these still early days?
I think we've got Catamaran here who could actually be that. But just going back to the point itself, that was 40 years ago when Chuck Feeney had his family office called Atlantic Philanthropies. And then the captive investment arm of the family office was General Atlantic. Today, GA manages over 80 billion over the last 40 years. It can just tell you what we may end up seeing in the next 2 or 3 decades as these large single-family offices start taking positions as well as getting the exits from their direct deals that they do. So my sense is that we're going to see this, and we're already seeing it. We're already seeing, you can name 5, 7 of the larger single-family offices that are already playing larger roles, and Ranga mentioned the largest stakes that they're taking. You had the example of First Cry last year, where 3 or 4 different family offices took 450 crores as a stake, and then that got listed about earlier this year.
Even Swiggy.
Swiggy,
So
I
to a-
think, was
to a
more
lesser
dispersed,
extent,
was
yes.
much more dispersed.
Yes.
You've also had the recent example of Zepto, which
Yes.
has raised 350 million, which is only domestic investors. You would wonder, why is that also happening? I think there's also a regulatory angle. I would also think that it's important for some of these companies to have domestic capital because of the industry that they're in, which they will seek domestic investors, but all of which augurs extremely well for single-family offices or multi-family offices to take positions in some fabulous companies.
Mr. Rangnath, would you like to weigh in? She spoke about the regulatory aspect relating to the participation of family offices in pre-IPO rounds. What more can be done to see greater and larger participation and perhaps larger checks as far as pre-IPO funding is concerned?
I think, Soumya is right. Some of the, earlier deals were kind of required some of the FDI rules, right? It's kind of required more local partners. Now, I think increasingly the companies are also getting more comfortable raising local capital, saying that, look, earlier it was primarily for, hey, if I get a much well-advertised global brand as my investor, that would help. Yes, that would certainly help. But increasingly they are also getting to see that, look, the kind of value add the large family offices can bring to the table through their operating experience is also valued. So increasingly they're more comfortable in accepting local capital as significant shareholders in addition to the global ones. I think that trend, as she rightly pointed out, is increasing. And even on the other side, I think the family offices are also kind of saying that, look, I can stay put for 4 or 5 years. It's not like I invest today and I want to exit tomorrow. I think that patient capital, along with the comfort level of the promoters to accept local large capital, I think both are playing.
Right. Aditya, do you think family offices per se, maybe in certain cases, certain entrepreneurs need greater nurturing, greater support, greater mentorship, right? Maybe in some cases, perhaps your regular VC or a regular fund may not be able to spend that time. Do you think in these kind of circumstances, perhaps family offices have an edge in terms of promoter-entrepreneur chemistry and perhaps can then be better partners? Do you concur with that?
I think no doubt, but really horses for courses, right? I think if there's a founder that, that needs that particular type of nurturing, then absolutely, that chemistry really does, it's greater than the sum of its parts. On the other hand, I also feel that, family offices, their evolution over the last several years has been previously said, that, the founders are getting more comfortable working with family offices as rule, because there's more structure to it, there's more predictability to it. Before, I think a lot of the allure for a lot of the large funds was, okay, there is a structure, there is a way things, that happen, you get carried through the whole thing, follow the yellow line, as it were. But in family offices case, now there is a structure, there is a history. I think, founders are definitely more comfortable.
What about larger checks? Up to 100 million, of course, possible,
Yes.
achievable. But what about the really big bang ones? When can we see that start pouring in?
I think we're going to start seeing that definitely over the next 5 years. I think we will see many of those, and in an ever increasing way, because I think the capital requirements now for some of these businesses, it's no longer that whole spray and pray kind of, just try and invest in a bunch of stuff and see what sticks. I think there's a lot of proven game plans out there, and people are willing to take big stakes. And look, businesses such as ours, we're always looking at diversifying our interests. And if this is the next sort of sunrise sector or sunrise play, absolutely, why not? My children and grandchildren will thank me.
One
I
quick
guess.
question. Then,
Hopefully.
Yeah. Soumya, you want to weigh in over there?
Yeah, I just want to weigh in on something that was said, is that what I've seen in family offices about 10 years ago is that they kind of tasted blood with seed investing in some sense. So then they got a little bit more courage to then do a little bit more. And now you're seeing them evolve now perhaps a little bit away from seed, moving more to your Series B, Series C, where it's more predictable in terms of the business model and otherwise. So just as the ecosystem is maturing, the family offices are also maturing in this process. So I just thought I'd just speak back on.
I think just to add,
Sure.
build upon, family offices are also pooling now. They're kind of collaborating to answer your question of larger checks, and they're coming together to co-invest and with the larger check sizes.
So what kind of check sizes are we talking about, Mr. Rangnath?
It could be anything. Certainly, like Soumya said, the check value is increasing. It is entirely depending upon the deal. It doesn't mean that family offices only look for large check deals anymore.
Right. What about family offices and the trend of looking at sectors or segments that are sort of ancillary to the core business?
Well, I think, at least in our case, I can talk about earlier, our focus was primarily on the consumption, which is e-commerce, Amazon, then a couple of similar investments. I think recently we are also kind of making certain investments in precision manufacturing. I think that is really coming off age for various geopolitical reasons as well as the government support. And no large global player it can ignore India, both as a market but also as an export base. So, for example, the component manufacturers for Apple or Airbus and such precision manufacturing is one focus area. They're not very large companies, but they need growth capital, they're export-oriented, and that's where they need the scaling expertise, like, for example, Catamaran can bring.
And who better than the former team at Infosys when it comes to scale? Dinesh, what are some of the hottest sectors right now for family offices? Where are you seeing maximum investment interest?
So let me just take the question that was you asked prior.
Right.
I think we have to look at the role of the family office. Like a portfolio manager, the role of the family office has now become of capital allocation rather than, running the business on a day-to-day basis. And therefore, the origin of the family office becomes very, very important. Like, for example, like Dabur runs a very, very successful consumer business, and therefore, somebody who's running consumer will run to them that we need you, we run after you. So the operating experience combined with the capital allocation, and probably they would have a preference to do more consumer deals because this is a sector which comes naturally to them, and therefore, that's how the specialization even in private equity firms get built based on the knowledge and based on the experience. Here they come with a natural experience which a lot of founders weigh on.
Yeah, because not every private equity fund will have an operational team for that specific sector, right?
Most of them would not have.
Yes, yes.
So that becomes important.
And which are some of the sectors where you're seeing maximum activity in this space, Dinesh?
So I think consumer, healthcare, these two are probably the hottest sectors, especially in the mid-market range, right? EdTech has gone off the anvil. We haven't seen much happening after the debacle of the larger players in the market. I would say if I have to pick up two sectors, it is healthcare and consumer. Tech continues to be evergreen. And we have seen green shoots in manufacturing, especially precision manufacturing. Lot of interest from family offices and private equity funds, given India is becoming an export hub.
Right. So healthcare, consumer, tech continues to be evergreen. Soumya, what about the participation of overseas family offices? That's also a trend that we are observing. I was speaking to Ranga earlier, and he was speaking about how there are certain German and Japanese family offices scouting around for partners. Tell us what's happening on the ground.
So I think clearly India is a hot investment destination. So irrespective of whether it's the family offices or otherwise, they're trying to figure out how can you find the right partnerships to work in India. India is a very complex market. So working with the right set of people in India then becomes extremely relevant. I will say I haven't seen too much of that at this moment. I think there are more financial services companies that are looking for partnerships in India to understand the landscape. But what I do see is that the allocation to India is still very small. It is still in the low single digits. It's not like a China allocation. India is always or was always clubbed with emerging markets as a whole. You didn't have a separate India allocation like you had a China allocation. That I think will change, but I don't see it changing in the near term. I think it is still in the low single digits that India allocations will remain, at least for the next 5 years or so, till people, one, start having a good experience of investing in India. When you look at private markets, it's all about the exit. It's also about the judicial system.
And also the price at which you enter,
and
right?
the price at which you enter. We've spoken about that.
Yeah.
It's about the right price.
Yes.
Now, these things have to all align if you're going to have a good experience from India. So my sense is that it's early days, but we're doing all the right things. They are looking for the right people to work with who will help them kind of navigate the India ecosystem in a broader way.
Right. Aditya, give us a peek into the Dabur family office strategy. Dinesh spoke about two hot sectors, consumer, healthcare. Healthcare is a sector close to your heart. Tell us, what are you guys bullish on?
So, absolutely, we're bullish on consumer for sure. I think, the way that we've done it, and I think that this is kind of maybe slightly different, is that since Dabur itself has, coffers, and we are looking at acquisitions, etc., through there, so that kind of puts that into one silo, and then of course there's everything else. But yeah, absolutely, I think consumer, and we're seeing things at much earlier stage with much more evolved thinking. I think this network effect and the VCs really are doing a wonderful job of getting these founders ready, market ready, and very, very confident founders with a lot of good experience, coming from large companies, whether it's Dabur, Coca-Cola, HUL, etc., going off and doing their own thing, which is very, very good to see. But yeah, I think, consumer is definitely there. Healthcare as well. I think, that's a broad sector. So, yeah, it's some things take off and other things slow down. But yeah, healthcare is definitely something that we're involved in a couple of companies. We have 3 companies in life sciences and healthcare ourselves.
And look at the pace at which, you spoke about the healthcare sector, look at the pace at which there are so many private equity firms striking deals in the hospital space, right?
Amazing.
The number is just increasing with every passing day, right? So that's also a sector to sort of watch out for.
Look, as much money that can be pumped into the healthcare system, I think, you'll be, all that money is buying a lot of good health for India going forward.
Better technology, better infrastructure.
Absolutely. And wonderful doctors with great experience. We need a stable ecosystem now.
Would you want to weigh in on the potential for partnerships with overseas firms? I know I'd spoken about that to Soumya earlier, but would you want to weigh in on the potential over there?
Sure. On a lighter note, family offices don't want to call themselves family office anymore. They want to call themselves as investment firms which happen to have one investor.
I'll keep that in mind for the next panel.
Jokes apart, I think, yes, I think increasingly the interest is primarily coming from family businesses outside
All right.
who want to set up shop in India, focusing on Indian market as well as for exports. And they need local partners. And there again, the preference is for somebody who has had operational experience, have run the businesses. So I think that's where one part of the demand is coming from. And Soumya is right. I think purely family offices come.
Do you think that in the months ahead, there will come a time when family... Do you think that in the months ahead, there will come a time when family offices will not just co-partner or join, but perhaps rival VCs and private equity funds when it comes to M&A deals and pre-IPO deals?
Yeah. So I think, see, India is not an easy market to operate in. Private equity funds have learnt it the hard way. Family businesses know it, that it's a hard market. So I think combination of family office with, private equity and VC funds, that makes a very good combination for the overall environment. There would be some deals where I would say early stage where VCs would take a lead and then family offices would come and participate with private equity. That is very much required for the economy, and that's how India is going to grow. And I think family offices have realized this opportunity and they are doing a great job, and we have seen a lot of interest from them. Hopefully this will continue, because that's the best thing that could have happened to India, that money is being allocated
Right.
In a very right fashion by the people who have money.
Sure. On that optimistic note, we'll wrap up the first panel of the third edition of the Indian Family Business Awards. Let me thank Dinesh, Soumya, MD Ranganath, as well as Aditya for sharing the insights. And audience, you've been great. I'll hand it over to my colleague Chandra to take this event forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that scintillating discussion, Ashwin, and our speakers. It's very rare to get so many illustrious family offices together. So big congratulations for that fabulous insights. Now, you heard it from some of the family offices and top investors from the House of Dabur and Catamaran. It's now time to hear it from the people who have skin in the game, the Scions of India Inc., who are taking their parents' legacy forward. Please welcome the Gen Next legacy builders, young guns steering family businesses and forging their own path. Joining me on stage for the second panel discussion this evening, the Generation Next Playbook, Redefining Leadership and Business for a Changing World, Divya Jain, founder at Safe Educate, and Arun K. Chitlipalli, MD, Wonderla Holidays, who's joining us all the way from Bangalore. Huge round of applause. Can you hear me? Welcome Arun, welcome Divya, and just like the previous panel, we have North representation, South representation, and like my colleague remarked, Arun, you run a listed company and it's literally a roller coaster for you running Wonderla Holidays.
Hello, yeah, thanks for having me here. Thank you, Chandra, nice to meet you. Yes, it is a bit of a roller coaster, literally and figuratively, especially the last 4-5 years, especially after COVID. It's been definitely a roller coaster ride, but in a good way as well.
Right. You come from one of the country's, leading logistics companies, Safe Express. You come from the illustrious V-Guard family in Kerala. Growing up, did you always know that, this is what I want to do? I want to, join the family business. Did you explore other options and then decide to be part of the family business?
Yeah, I think growing up, so this is my family, this is a family that I'm married into, but I've grown up in a business family. So I think growing up, business was always something that you wanted to do. Not really, so it's kind of built into your DNA, ki, you have to be running a business. And I think that growing up and that culture that, the fact that business is dinner conversation. So it's sort of in your blood. And I think that really motivated me when I was thinking. So you don't even think कि job करनी है या कुछ और करना है.
Job नहीं करनी है.
I mean, I think
बस बनाना है.
You know, you have to create. That sense of creation is always there. And I think more than that, I think this sense of looking at a problem and always trying to find a solution for it is something that's inbuilt.
Right. Arun, take us through your own journey.
So my journey has been a little different. I think my dad's business is V-Guard Industries, which is electrical component manufacturing. And when I was studying in college, he had this bright idea that he's going to get into amusement parks and resorts. And
how did that happen? That is a pivot which is so unusual, right?
Yeah,
One day you're making voltage stabilizers, and the other day
pumps.
you're running an amusement park. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. My dad is an engineer at heart, and he always wanted to build stuff, and that's how he. And I kind of have the same kind of inclination. I've done engineering. I've done my master's in engineering as well. So I just felt that this is a very exciting business to kind of join, and it was a kind of a startup when he had, built this around the year 2000. When I joined the business in 2002, when it was still like a 2-year-old business, and at that time we didn't think that it'll be a listed business or it'll be, it'll get to where it is today. But like she said, I think we've been brought up with this thing that you need to get into business, everything, a lot of conversations around business at home. There's always this training that subconsciously keeps happening at home, I guess, so we are always drawn to it. And, there's always pressure also, I guess.
How do you deal with that pressure? Because from the outside in, when I look at both of you, I would imagine, what a nice life, right? You grew up in a family which is very well-to-do, not wanting for anything, very privileged compared to others. But internally, it's always running through your mind, my dad has done this, my mom has done this. What is my legacy going to be? So how do you kind of deal with that?
Honestly, I didn't deal with it. I just thought I'll do my own thing. And of course, my dad has definitely played a big role in, kind of mentoring me and, kind of getting me to look at, hiring or like how to build a team or a system at work. So those things obviously, helped a lot. But I think definitely, it's something that I think we're kind of, thrown into the deep end, if you know what I mean, and then say, okay, you swim, learn to swim in a way. In my experience, we also kind of learned together as well, because this was a new business for him too at that point, and so we kind of learned bits of this together. And I was always a theme parks buff, so I visited a lot of parks as a child as well. So for me, it was kind of bringing a lot of our dreams to life in a way. So I think the pressure part happens only when we take loans and when we have to build new parks, and then when we have to keep growing revenues. That was difficult in the beginning, but I think over a period of time, it's been, I'm kind of used to it now.
Right. Divya?
I have a little bit of a different experience. Safe Express is in logistics, but logistics is still a very new word. When we started out, it was trucking का धंधा था. And trucking में लड़कियों का कुछ काम नहीं होता था. So when my mother-in-law started out, she never went to office. So I remember when I got married, I think maybe a month later, she's like, you're educated, you got a degree from Cambridge, and you need to get to office. So I showed up, and I think I was probably one of the first women, on the hub floor. And I still remember walking in, and there'd be
round of applause for that. That takes a lot of, yeah.
And there was this sense of fear of like that be the driver the and the managers, and they're like, madam kya karengi yahan pe? And I think it was very, very exciting for me because I felt I was able to bring in a brand new perspective. I think women work differently.
But do you think they were humoring you, or, how tough was it to actually earn their respect? Was it like Malkin ki,
No, of course, it's incredibly hard. For everyone who thinks that it's easy, I think the first gen has it the second gen is always looking behind, right? Everyone's always like,
there are a lot of first gen people in the house.
I think for all the first generation entrepreneurs, we're always thinking, are we going to match up? Are you going to be good enough? So I think there's always that challenge of, not just proving yourself, but being enough. And when I started off, we started off working in the, in the family company. And one of the things we realized was one of our big issues was manpower and people. We were trying to get manpower, but we weren't able to keep them. And that's sort of what led me to create Safe Educate, where we specialized in skilling for logistics and supply chain. So it kind of went, problem to solution, where you were in the sector, where you're in the company, you realize what's the big problem of this sector, and can you come up with a solution that caters to it? All the time, of course, looking in front and behind. Are you good enough? Do I really, do I really need to prove myself to be here? Which is great. I think which is also a great motivator because it pushes you to achieve more and to be more and to show up every day.
And how many women today on the floor in your company?
So I wish there were more, but yes, we do we have 10 to 12% women. But I want to give some statistics. We've done a lot of research. We did a full warehouse where that was manned completely by women. And we found that they had 8% less attrition and they were 28% more productive than those run by men because they took fewer breaks. There were no breaks. They didn't want to change jobs. They were more disciplined. There were less fights. So definitely there's a case to be made to have the women not just on the shop floor, but in your family offices and family businesses.
Wow, so fewer breaks, more retention. That sounds like any employer's dream. But Arun, you said your dad helped you a lot, and the way your business is run, V-Guard is run by your brother, Mithun Chitlapalli, and you kind of run Vandala. Did you ever want to run V-Guard? Did you tell your dad, why are you giving me the amusement park?
Like I said, when I joined this business, it was like all hands on deck. We were all trying to figure out what to do with this, how to, make it work and stuff. So it just happened like that. And then I didn't really, for me, V-Guard the V-Guard office was already a very established business. There were a lot of senior people.
There's nothing new that you could...
So when I went there for a few meetings, I was like, I don't know. It was 25 years ago though. So, I could have worked there as well, but I chose this path and I don't regret it. I just felt that, the journey has been amazing and a lot of learning. And I wanted to live in Bangalore as well. Whereas V-Guard was
That's a good choice.
Based out of Cochin, and
so it's not bad.
lot of variables like that, kind of played into it. Being a younger business, I think I had more opportunity to change things and hire people who I wanted to hire and stuff like that. So I think that way it was good. Right. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Right. But how was it for you? Because, COVID would have come as a shocker for the business you were in, right?
Right.
No one was venturing out, let alone venturing out to amusement parks.
Right.
So have you completely sort of recouped that growth that you saw pre-COVID? What did you have to do? And what did you do during that phase? Riding out the pandemic.
So we have a large workforce and... when obviously we had to shut the parks, we had 3 parks at that time and we had to shut all 3. So we had like almost 1,800 people who had to be sitting at home. It was tough initially.
Did you have to let go of them or you?
No, we didn't let go of anyone. Everyone took a voluntary salary cut whenever the parks were shut. And that, obviously came from me. And all the way down. Of course, the people who are at the lower levels, we didn't cut their salaries as much. But everybody got their salary throughout COVID. And we retained actually almost 90% of our employees.
That's amazing.
During COVID. Also, another thing we did is we did a cloud kitchen business during COVID because we had a lot of F&B staff, chefs, people like that who work in our parks. So they came up with this idea that let us at least do something with our time. And, so they did that for some time and we opened about 6 cloud kitchens across Cochin and Bangalore and Hyderabad. And we ran that during COVID. But then, of course, when the parks opened again, we had to shut it down because our priorities were obviously to run the parks more. And but looking back, I think we've done much better than COVID. I think we used that time also to strategize, also to change a lot of our, the way we market ourselves. Pre-COVID, we used to do predominantly a lot of traditional media advertising, but what we realized after COVID, especially during a lot of research that we did, was that, amusement parks attract a disproportionately young audience, a lot of children and young adults, and they're all on their phones. So we did that pivot during this COVID, and in fact, we completely revamped our marketing and a lot of other functions as well, sales. A lot of our IT systems were also redone during this time. So things which we could not have done otherwise, we were able to do some of those things.
Some of those things during COVID. Coming to you, Divya, the logistics space in India is also in a very interesting phase, right? On the one hand, you have incumbents like your Blue Dart, Safe Express, DDTC, but you also have a lot of startups who are now getting listed. Delivery is listed, Ecom Express is planning to list, then you have Express Bees, you have, so many of these logistics players who are emerging, the third-party logistics players. How do you kind of deal with that kind of competition? Because they're also deeply funded. They might be loss-making, but they are very well funded.
I love coming back to this, and I think this was a question when I first joined the business, I think 2004, 2006, 2007. Again, that was the time when the markets were rising. And I remember going and talking to my father-in-law. So we are 100% privately owned, so no debt, no private equity, so still sort of a unicorn in the real sense, a hard-to-find company. And I think as a young person in the business and coming from a banking background, the idea was, that should we not list and should we not sort of get into the markets? And I think it's been a deep, family philosophy that we wanted to build the business on our own. We wanted to have complete control over what we were building, and the focus has always been on wealth preservation. And then, of course, using whatever we have created to then invest back. Being a company that's always been profitable, we have an asset-light model, which has always given, we've been cash-rich, and we've had the privilege of investing back into the company. And I think this has really shown flavor in the past 5 years, especially post-COVID, where a lot of other companies have struggled. So with startups, there's a point where you can manage the large drain. So that actually was one of the strongest suits where you could stand still, you didn't have to worry about cash and these things. And I think that brings me back to the idea of, what is the DNA of a family? And I think that's really, really important. And for us, basic first principles matter. So revenue first, profitability, dhanda aisa karo, jisme, you're actually creating value, not burning value for every single person controlled. And I think that's something that's been passed on, that's very deeply enrooted in the family, in the business, in our employees, and now in all the other enterprises that we're looking to. So the mindset has always been towards creation and preservation, while at the same time growth. And I think if you look at the numbers, we can see that this is actually matched up. And, we've actually been able to create greater value.
Right. One thing also about, business families is that it's very important for them to give back to the community. And we've seen this with so many examples in the room, from Apollo to the Dabur family, which does a lot in philanthropy. Arun, your dad, also is very passionate about that. I came across a story which said that he decided to donate his kidney sometime in 2013 to a complete stranger, because he believed that that would set off, a chain of organ donation in Kerala and reduce the kind of, the fear or the anxiety around it. He's also very passionate about protecting strays. Yeah. Tell us about him, and I think he's already given away a third of his wealth to charity.
Yeah, so my dad has always believed that business is also, we are responsible. If we generate wealth, it has to be used responsibly. And in a country
trustees
like,
of...
Yeah, we are custodians of wealth, and it has to be used responsibly and for, uplifting our society. So that's been a theme for us. So like you said, the healthcare, organ donation, stray dog issues, a lot of things. I mean, my dad is involved in a lot of different things. We have our family wealth, almost 1/3 of it is kept aside for all these different verticals. We have senior living facilities that we that comes out of this again. He's running a senior living foundation. Then there is kidney he also runs a kidney foundation, and few other things as well. But I think that's something that is ingrained in all of us again, and even as a business, whether it's V-Guard or Vandala or all the other companies that we have. We also try and help our employees or our villages that we around our our factories or around our amusement parks. We kind of adopt them and help them. But we focus on healthcare and education. These are the two main things that we focus on. So we help rebuild schools, or we help with drinking water or primary. What do you call it, like healthcare, like a doctor's facility and first aid and things like that. So we've done a few things like that. A lot more can be done, but as we are also running the businesses, so it's this fine line of figuring out which priority to focus on. My dad focuses more on the giving part of it right now, and I think my brother and I are on the.
But how did the family react when he said, "I'm going to do this"?
Obviously, we all said no, and he's like, we were like, why can't we donate more if that's what you want to do? But he's like, no, I want to donate. In a way, a part of me as well, and it's fine. I've done enough research. Nothing's going to happen to me. I can still have my alcohol. I can still, do whatever I want to do. So it's fine. And he's right. So, I think he wanted to do also because of the stigma associated with organ donation.
But it takes a lot of courage to donate your kidney.
It's a pretty. And he was 60 years old when he did it. So normally they don't allow organ donors to do it after the age of 50. But he was 60, and that was in a way something that he wanted to do when he turned 60. He's also, so he's got a lot of views on, that we have to give back to society and things like that. So this all kind of plays into that whole theme that he has going for himself.
Right. Divya, your thoughts?
So, it's interesting is when we, in this conference is about family business. So when we run a business, everyone is family. Post-COVID, I launched a startup. We got some funding from Sequoia. It was a startup called Seco. And in the startup world, the idea was that you have to be a team, right? So it's, you have to have only the strongest people on board. And it was, either you're in or you're out. And I think that was sort of a shock when I walked in. Because I think the way we've grown up and as a family business, it's about taking everyone together. So I think as a business, what's really important is, to of course, first of all, take care of your employees. Their well-being, are they being looked after? So for us, what's really important is the community, our truck drivers. One of the things that we've worked on, which is philanthropy as well as entrepreneurship, is for a lot of our truck drivers, we'll help them get a loan. And we'll have them, buy a truck with which they can pay their EMIs. And what that allows them to do is over a period of, 2 to 3 years, they can actually own their own trucks. The first truck driver who worked with Safe Express today actually has a fleet of 500 trucks.
Wow.
And a turnover of more than 100 crores on his own. So there's a strong push of creating entrepreneurs, of working back with the community that we are working with. There's a lot of work that we do with truck drivers, their upliftment. So another interesting statistics is 2 of 10 trucks lie idle in India every day because we don't have enough truck drivers. So there's a lot of work that we've done in terms of working back with their families, with their kids, to find them opportunities, whether in logistics or whether in other fields. Education and healthcare are areas which are very important to us. Thirdly, which is smaller, but we are Jains, so giving back to the society and the Jain community also is a huge part of our, giving back initiative. And finally, green is our color. So giving back for the environment is something that, all of us engage with. For me personally, I think women, as you have noticed, is a huge part of it. So in terms of, skilling women, empowering women, and really looking at initiatives where we can skill them and make them equal part of the workforce is something that's very dear to our
Right.
hearts.
Arun, is your father involved in the business in any way? When does he come in? And are you scared of when he comes in? Does he only come in when he's upset about something, or he thinks that you all are not doing something the way he would have done?
So my dad, now he's 75, so he's retired from the board.
People above 75 are the most active
Yeah, I know. So
in
he's
India now.
Yeah,
Only
yeah.
those below 40 are talking
I-
about, the fire movement and all.
No. So he's not involved in V-Guard or Wonderla anymore. He's our chairman emeritus. So, but of course these are still his babies in a way. So he has a lot of employees that he has worked with from back in the day. Some of them are still continuing in different capacities. Some as distributors, partners, and things like that. So he gets to know what's happening. And I think he also, we still, talk to him about what's happening in the businesses, and, if there's any big decisions that are being done, I still like to run it by him just to, so that he also feels like connected to it. He likes to be like that. So we try and involve him as much as possible, but at the same time, he's also busy with more of his, foundation and things like that. And he also has another business, which is in construction. So he
This
also...
is Vega land.
Yeah. So he's busy with that as well. So he spends a lot of his time giving talks, and he's always giving a talk somewhere. So
You should bring him here next time.
Sure. So he's busy, and he has a lot of causes that, as he's busy with, whether it's organ donation or stray animals and all kinds of things. So he's a very busy man. So it's hard to get him to our parks or to V-Guard office, I think. But at the same time, he attends all board meetings, and I think at a strategic level, he's still involved. I mean, he likes to know what's happening. But otherwise, he's pretty much retired from the big companies.
Great. On that note, thank you both very much, Arun and Divya. This was such a lovely discussion, and it's great to see both of you forging your own identities, even as you build on what your parents have built. A huge round of applause to the Sions of the V-Guard and the Safe Express crew. So, Arun, look forward to meeting you at Bandila someday in Bangalore.
Please do come with your family. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for talking to us, Arun and Divya. Clearly, the next generation is keeping the family flag flying high. It's now my absolute honor to welcome our chief guest for the evening, Dr. Jitendra Singh. Now, he wears many, many hats, and I'm going to read them out as quickly as possible. He is the MOS for the Prime Minister's Office, MOS Independent Charge, Ministry of Science and Technology, MOS Independent Charge, Ministry of Earth Sciences, MOS Ministry of Personnel, Public Grievances and Pensions, MOS Department of Atomic Energy, and MOS Department of Space. Please welcome the Honorable Minister to deliver the keynote address. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction. I think more important than how many hats are being worn is how much justice is being done to each of the hats. But nevertheless, very kind of you. So at the outset, I have to compliment you for organizing this event, the Family Business Awards, the Money Control Family Business Awards to be precise. And I must also appreciate this as a unique initiative of its kind. I think celebration this evening is for more than one reason, and primarily the two reasons being the celebration of Indian economy, because we were fragile 5, from there we've risen to first 5. We look forward to soon being at number 4 and number 3, and then looking forward to the award goal of 2047. And this has happened not without a consistent effort that has gone in for the last 10 years or so. And since nowadays we are expected not to talk without evidence, you would recall that before 2014 we were just about 350 or 400 startups in this country. And when for the first time Prime Minister from the ramparts of the Red Fort spoke about Startup India, I think that was in 2015, many of the countrymen could not figure out actually what it meant for. So the concept was so vague and so distant in this country. But within 1 decade, we stand number 3, rank 3 in the global startup ecosystem. We are now nearly 1.75 lakh and number of unicorns more than most other nations. Similarly, if you look at the other sectors individually, like for example the biotechnology sector, because it's our firm belief and it's a considered view across the world, even among the economists, that the next industrial revolution is going to be bioeconomy driven, just as the industrial revolution of the 1990s was IT driven. And therefore biotechnology is going to be a very important sector, going to add value to the global economy as well as, of course, to the Indian economy. And can you believe in 2014 we were just 50 biotech startups, 50. Which is sometimes embarrassing to say also. Today we have gone up to nearly 9,000 biotech startups. And we are among, I think, few countries who have come out with a bioeconomy related policy, which happened just about a month back, called BioE3, which means biotechnology for economy, biotechnology for environment, biotechnology for employment. So no longer are we living in the times when we would allow others or we would let others experiment, then gaining from their experience and their success, we would then adopt technologies. And I think the simplest example of that, because sitting among media persons, is that of the television that happened in US in 1950s and the famous presidential election of 1960 where John Kennedy turned tables on Richard Nixon was a consequence of a TV debate. And over here in India, we didn't know what is TV, what is debate. We got to see the first Chitrahar somewhere in 1970s. But it's no longer so now. We are among the first to have our biotech policy, a bioeconomy policy. We are among the first 3 in the startups. And we are also among first 5 or 6 nations in the world, that elite league, who have formally launched our quantum initiative called Mission Quantum. So there's been a tremendous effort to actually ensure that there is a consistent rise in the Indian economy by exploring some of those areas which had hitherto been underexplored or unexplored. And the second celebration, of course, is very much related to the event this evening, the contribution of the family businesses. And family businesses, ladies and gentlemen, it will be amazing to understand that over 70% of India's GDP is contributed by family businesses. And mercifully, nobody has talked about dynastism in that. Otherwise, it might have been otherwise, even the data and the figures. And this contribution is also on the rise, unlike in politics possibly. Our projections reveal that by 2047, the contribution of the India's family businesses to the country's GDP will go up to almost as much as 85%. But as long as it's a healthy phenomena contributing in a positive manner for good reasons, I think we don't have to talk about it otherwise. And if we talk strictly in the terms of family businesses also, I think one of the main contributions, a very exclusive contribution by this government, and at the behest of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, by his personal intervention, his personal vision, have been some of the initiatives, some of the schemes which are exclusively meant to promote those areas of family trade which were getting extinct. And one of the most beautiful schemes, which is very close to my heart, and I think it's not much talked about, but I try to seize every opportunity to talk about it, is the Vishwakarma Yojana, the PM Vishwakarma Yojana. Because in fact, as a part of my public life, and whenever I used to work in the suburbs of Uttar Pradesh, I was working for the party there as well as in charge. So I would come across elders saying कि ये हमारा हुनर तो अब हमारे साथ ही खत्म हो जाएगा, क्योंकि बच्चों में तो इसमें कोई आमदन का जरिया नहीं है. Now this Vishwakarma Yojana is a Yojana which enables you to carry on with your family traditional vocation, which is also deeply rooted in the Indian legacy, in the Indian civilization. So you are simultaneously promoting the economic options for the family and at the same time also trying to keep alive the legacy, the civilization of India in a more contemporary method. And the other important feature of this is that under this scheme, you train the family members or whoever comes forward, you provide them tools for training, you provide them money to get the tools, and you also pay them for the training. तो अगर पढ़ाई में दिल ना लगता हो तो आपको पढ़ाई करने के पैसे मिलेंगे. So normally when you go for a coaching or a coaching center, you have to shell out huge amount of money for that. Here's the other way around. The government is paying you for that. Which in other words also reflects government sensitivity. Prime Minister Modi's sensitivity, the government led by his sensitivity to keep the ethos alive while also promoting the businesses. So I think it's from that point of view, that context, we need to also carry this forward. Then you have the Prime Minister's Swamitva Yojana, PM Swamitva Yojana, for the rediwalas. I don't think in this country there was ever a culture of caring for the rediwala. And even if you found one on the roadside, you would detest him coming in your way. And you never had kind words for rediwala coming your way. Now here is a scheme which is exclusively dedicated to them. It's promoting their work, funding them, supporting them. We have more than 50 lakh street vendor groups who have already been benefited out of this. Then the Mudra Yojana for the youngsters who wish to initiate themselves into businesses. And for a certain amount, you don't have to mortgage anything. So that's something exclusive. So what I'm trying to say, in other words, is that for the first time, you have a government which is not only supportive of this kind of businesses, but is also keen to promote it while also keeping our traditional ethos in place. Now, if you go by the global index, because if we are looking for the global role, then you have to live by the global strategies, you have to live up to the global parameters, you have to live by the global benchmarks. Because we might be very good in playing gulli danda or kabaddi, but you will get recognition only when you beat the Australians in cricket. So you have to learn, if you are globally competitive, only then you can look for that Viksit Bharat 2047, because it's easily said. It sounds very fanciful, also very romantic, but have you ever thought, how would you do that? What are the indices? Where will be the technology then? And not only the technology is consistently growing, but it's growing with such a pace that you can't even visualize what would happen. The other day when I was talking to a group of civil servants in the academy, and they were in the process of preparing Vision 2047 document, I said, first of all, you must prepare indices for yourself. And the first question that you should ask yourself is, what will be your role in 2047? And second, whether at all there will be a role for you. Because the change is happening so fast. And therefore, even if you grow by the Global Innovation Index, I think we have reasonable satisfaction to say that in Global Innovation Index, which is a recognized global parameter of innovation-related growth, we stood at 81, rank 81 in 2014. Today, we stand rank 40, almost 39 now. So the world has started acknowledging us. World has started looking up to us with a certain amount of esteem. And as I was saying in the context of the television versus the quantum, we are no longer waiting to be led. We are also in many ways ready to lead, which is again evident from our success stories in the space sector. Till about 60, 70 years, we worked behind a wheel of confidentiality. We opened up just about 3 years back to the private sector. There's been a quantum jump from 1-digit startup. We've gone on to 300. And of course, our ISRO was established, born in 1969, the year which has gone down in the history when Americans landed first human being on the surface of moon, Neil Armstrong. But today, we have landed on the southern pole of moon before everybody else. So we are no longer being led, we can also lead. So there's ample evidence to say that this is one of the better times happening also for Indian business. And for the first time, we have a government which is very forthcoming in opening up to the private sector. And that skepticism between the public sector and the private sector is vanishing away. And there were times when it was almost a taboo talking about involving private sector in the government business. Now it's the other way around. The government is getting involved in the private business. And you'll be glad to know that one of the initiatives that we have taken in the last 8-9 weeks was a couple of departments that she was mentioning also deals with that. The National Research Foundation, which we have come out with, which we have in the Indian nomenclature named as Anusandhan, which is rather a better version of the National Research Foundation of America. That's precisely what I was telling their chairman, Mr. Panch, because we have studied all the other documents and prepared it. And we have a lot of Indian flavor in that. Our representation in the governing body, in the executive body, will not only be from the scientific fraternity, it would also be from the humanities, from the social scientists, and also from the civil society, so that we also have the contexts in place. But what I want to emphasize is that nearly 70% of the resource would be non-government. So it's quite a sea change, almost 360 from where we were till about a decade and a half. And it's my firm belief that if we have to move on from where we are, we have to have a close synergy, as close as possible, between the research, the academia, the startups, the businesses. In fact, what happens in India is that we are also fond of having a pastime of casual talk. हम कहते हैं कि थोड़ी गपशप हो जाए, which in Europe you don't, आप किसी को यूरोप में ये नहीं कहेंगे, please come over in the evening for a gupshup. But here you do that. It's a part of our culture. It may be good also in your ways. And the best time for that is your morning walk, where you discuss all the subjects, from White House almost to the Rashtrapati Bhavan. And there you find people saying, अरे साहब रॉकेट गया तो क्या किया हिंदुस्तान? कुछ नहीं किया. वो देखिए नासा क्या कर रहा है. But they never realize that NASA has 60 to 70% of funding from the non-government sources. And in spite of that, if we are able to compete, that means we never lacked the human acumen. We never lacked the human potential. We never lacked the human resource. But possibly the enabling milieu which was available to others was not available to us. And that has happened after 2014, after Prime Minister Modi came in. And that has happened with a closer involvement of the gentlemen and the gentle ladies sitting in this room this evening. Because now we are open to move on as a single entity without living in silos. And therefore, and if you ask me about the intent of this government, as I said in the beginning, we are here to talk with evidence. The first 100 days of this government, Modi 3.0, had some important decisions, out of which at least 4 were linked to the promotion of economy, businesses, and that too innovation technology driven. For example, of course, the National Research Foundation, which was of course announced before the election, but 1 lakh crore rupees of funding from the government side was done after the election was over and the government came in for the 3rd time. Similarly, 1,000 crore of venture fund for space startups, again part of the first 100 days decision. Mission Mausam is something which has, excited the others also. Only today we had a delegation from Israel who wanted to understand what we are up to, and they could not even pronounce this. This is Mausam. So I took time to understand what the lady meant, but they were so much enthused about it that we have an exclusive mission dedicated to the forecast of the weather, to be very precise, because what was happening again by the gupshup crowd, they would say, "Kya इनका दिल्ली का क्या विभाग है? इनको तो बारिश का भी नहीं पता चलता. कल कहा था ड्राई आज इतना मौसम हो गया." But we didn't understand that Delhi is no longer Delhi. Actually, this is a misnomer. We call it Delhi. We are not in Delhi. So we are almost what we call NCR. Haryana is part of Delhi, UP is part of Delhi, but we like to have the address of Delhi. So our address and entity, for purpose of identity, is Delhi. So what was happening is the number of the weather stations could not have a precise forecast beyond certain distances. So if I have a station here and I'm asked to make a forecast for Noida, I may not be as precise as you would expect me to be. And of course, you have a right to do so, and you're right in expecting so. So we are going to increase that number even for Delhi. We are around 30 or 50. We'll now have almost 300. And we'll also have the world-class state of art. So that was also one of the decisions in the first 100 days. And of course, the Bio-E3 policy. All these decisions taken soon after the government came in. And then, very recently, last week, we had that One Nation, One Subscription, which I think is going to make a huge impact for the education institutions. Because some of us, when we did our thesis, we were asked to visit the British Council Library for a particular book. When we went there, they would say, "Yeah, we have the book, but the Consulate General in Calcutta has borrowed it. So you wait for 1 month." So now it will no longer be so. And another example which is not often talked about, which I have fancy always saying, is that did you realize that in the vote of account that was presented by the Indian Finance Minister just before the election, vote of account is a part of the budget presented by the outgoing government, because in the democratic spirit that the budget full-fledged will depend on the priorities of the government that is to take over. So with that propriety, it's just kaam-kaji kharcha. But in that vote of account, we did not include freebies. Normally that is what is done. Normally free laptops, free sewing machines. What we included was declaration to develop semiconductors, which the rest of the world is still planning. And second, to have space startup venture fund, which of course was announced. The amount was announced after the election. So what I'm trying to say is that even the vote of account, which is usually election-driven, very close to the date of polling, was inspired by the conviction of the mission that had been undertaken by Prime Minister Modi and not by the constraints of the ensuing election. And therefore, to conclude, I would say that we are standing at the threshold of Century India of 2047. And to reach that pedestal, as Prime Minister keeps saying, each citizen has to contribute depending upon his might or his potential, which means that each member of the family, including the business family, will be expected to contribute in whatever measure possible. And therefore, when we embark today on the last leg of this journey to the destination 2047, let us all have in mind that the advantage that we have of a political dispensation, which is supportive and which I said we had all the talent at our command, but possibly we did not have an enabling support, which is forthcoming. And therefore, I have the confidence to assure the august audience this evening, the government will always be forthcoming in whatever initiatives you take, because we are determined to move on together, because we know understand the importance of that possibly as much as you do. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir, for that inspiring and motivating address, and also underlining the strides that India has made in the last decade. Sir, I will request you to stay back on stage, as we will now be felicitating the first set of winners. Let's kick it off then with the winners in the super category.
In the category of super, annual turnover up to rupees 1,000 crores.
And the award in the most innovative, disruptive and transformational category goes to...
In the category of super, most innovative, disruptive and transformational, the winner is Supriya Life Science Limited.
May I invite on stage Hardik Vora, Head of the Family Office of Supriya Life Science Limited, to come up and collect the award. Congratulations, Hardik. Moving on, the award for Best Governance goes to...
In the category of super, best governance, the winner is FIL Industries Private Limited.
May I invite on stage SM Tariq Bukhari, Managing Director, FIL Industries Private Limited, and Ms. Maria Bukhari, his daughter, to come up and collect the award. A huge round of applause. Many congratulations, Mr. Bukhari. Next up, we move on to the best family business in this category, and the winner is...
In the category of super, best family business, the winner is Forbes Marshall Private Limited.
May I invite on stage Farhad Forbes, Co-Chairman, and Rati Forbes, Director, Forbes Marshall, to come up and collect the award. Huge round of applause for Mr. Farhad Forbes and Rati Forbes. Many congratulations, Mr. Forbes and Ms. Forbes. Let's also invite on stage now Soumya Rajan, founder and CEO, Waterfield Advisors, to join us on stage for the next editorial recognition award. Soumya, if you can come up.
Editorial recognitions.
And we're very, very proud to present the first editorial recognition award this evening for the women leader, and the winner is...
The award for Woman Business Leader goes to the Reddy Sisters, Apollo Hospitals Enterprise Limited.
Huge round of applause for the Reddy Sisters. May I invite on stage Preeta Reddy to come up and collect the award. Preeta Reddy, Executive Vice Chairperson of Apollo Hospitals, is one of the leading business leaders in India and Asia, and has been at the forefront of transforming and scaling Apollo Hospitals with her three sisters. Huge congratulations, Preeta. Preeta, if I can request you to stay on stage, because don't worry, we will not ask. If you can pass the mic to Preeta. Yeah. Preeta, don't worry, I won't ask you about quarterly revenue margins guidance. No, but tell me what it's like running a polo with three of your sisters. What's the dynamic like? Do you all fight every other week? Who is the peacemaker? Who resolves the differences?
Well, I must say 4 of us are very different from each other. So when 2 fight, the other 2 have to step in. But we've been brought up very well. And for the friends who are here in the audience, they know that we don't fight.
Preeta, tell us about the next generation, because many of them are entering the business. How are you mentoring them? How are you advising them?
I think my father found it easier because we were 4 good daughters and we listened to everything he said. The next gen has a mind of their own. They're very bright with great ideas. So I think they will take the organization much ahead in very different ways. But at the end of the day, we're in the business of caring, and the caring comes first and the business next.
One final question for you, Preeta. As someone who runs one of the largest hospital chains in the country, with the advent of artificial intelligence, do you think AI will replace doctors?
There is always high tech, but high touch is required, and high touch will never replace high tech.
Thank you so much, Preeta. Wonderful insight. On that note, thank you very much, Preeta Reddy, for collecting this.
Thank you for the honor and the recognition. Yeah. It's for all the people who tirelessly work 24/7 with us. And I'm very proud to be an Indian, and that speech was very inspiring, sir.
Now, I have to return that compliment. Incidentally, I know the family for over 4 decades, and her father, Dr. Pratap Reddy, when I was a student in the medical school, was yet to actually enter into this. So he would occasionally visit Madras, which is, of course, now known as Chennai. For a while, he was in UK, so he would come, and always a very well-dressed, handsome, young doctor. And my guide and he happened to be very close friends. So that's how Dr. Pratap Reddy has always blessed all of us equally well. And I'm glad that we continued that association now also.
Huge round of applause for Dr. Pratap Reddy. I'm sure he's a very, very proud father. Thank you, sir. And that was a wonderful connection and anecdote. Thank you, Soumya. Thank you, Dr. Singh, for gracing us this evening at the Money Control Indian Family Business Awards. Thank you very much, sir. Huge round of applause for the Honorable Minister, Dr. Jitendra Singh. Sir, Dr. Singh, there's one more. 1 second. Dr. Singh, there's one more category, if you can sort of stay up on stage. Let me now invite Prateek Jain, Regional Markets Leader North, and partner PwC India to join us on stage along with the Minister. No, there are 2 more categories. For the next set of awards, can we have the AV, please?
Family business empowered by a woman.
The next award for family business empowered by woman goes to...
Family business empowered by a woman. The winner is HP Adhesives Limited.
May I invite on stage Anjana Motwani, Chairperson and Promoter, HP Adhesives Limited, to come up and collect the award. A huge round of applause for Ms. Anjana Motwani. Welcome, ma'am. It's very heartening to see so many women leaders in the room today. Huge round of applause for all of them. Moving on in the same category, the family business empower... Moving on in this... no, I think that's... yeah. Moving on in the same category, family business empowered by women, the next winner is...
Family business empowered by a woman. The winner is Ashoka Foundry and Equipment Private Limited.
May I invite on stage Deepshikha Gopalkar to come up and collect the award. Many congratulations, Deepshikha. Right, up next, the Philanthropy Award. And the winner is?
In the category of philanthropy, the winner is Century Plyboards India Limited.
May I invite on stage Prem Bhajanka, Executive Director, Century Plyboards India, to come up on stage and collect the award. A huge round of applause for Century Plyboard. Right, on that note, thank you, Mr. Singh, thank you, Mr. Jain, for gracing us on stage, and a huge round of congratulations again to the first set of winners. But the action doesn't end there. May I now welcome our second chief guest for the evening, Harivansh Ji, the Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. Please welcome him with a huge round of applause as he delivers the keynote address before handing over the awards for the next set of winners. Please welcome him on stage.
Distinguished guests, esteemed entrepreneurs and luminaries of India's business family, good evening. आज व्यक्तिगत तौर पर मनी कंट्रोल बिजनेस अवार्ड्स में आकर मुझे खास प्रसन्नता है। यह ऐसा अवसर है जब हम उन विजनरीज को ऑनर कर रहे हैं जो भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था की रीढ़ हैं और जो मुल्क को वैश्विक पावर हाउस बनाने में लगे हैं। मेरी उन सबको बहुत बधाई। खुद मनी कंट्रोल का ग्रोथ मैं उल्लेख करना चाहूंगा। 100 मिलियन से अधिक यूजर्स तक पहुंचकर भारत का सबसे बड़ा फाइनेंशियल और बिजनेस न्यूज पोर्टल बन गया है। मेरी बधाई पूरी टीम को। यह उस नाजुक मोड़ पर 100 मिलियन से अधिक यूजर्स बने हैं जब भारत विकसित देश बनने की ओर तेजी से अग्रसर है। इसमें वेल्थ क्रिएटर्स की भूमिका बहुत ही डिसिसिव है। इन पुरस्कारों के माध्यम से हमारी अर्थव्यवस्था के पायनियर्स को सम्मानित करने का मनी कंट्रोल का यह प्रयास बहुत ही सराहनीय है। इस काम के लिए आपकी पूरी टीम में से हर एक सदस्य को मेरी निजी बधाई। पिछले 2.5 दशकों में यह मनी कंट्रोल पोर्टल भारत की विकास गाथा का गवाह है। मनी कंट्रोल ने निश्चित तौर पर कटिंग एज रिपोर्टिंग और एनालिसिस के साथ साथ भारत के डेवलपमेंट के ट्रांजिशनल फेज में बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट रोल प्ले किया। आज सोशल मीडिया और साइट्स के कंटेंट की भरमार है। मनी कंट्रोल जैसे क्रेडिबल और वेल रिसर्च न्यूज प्लेटफॉर्म्स का होना बहुत ही जरूरी है और मनी कंट्रोल की फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग इसकी क्वालिटी, इसकी गुणवत्ता को इतने बड़े यूजर वाले हमारे देश ने स्वीकार किया है, मान्यता दी है। पर यह शुरुआत है। टेक्नोलॉजी और ऑनलाइन कंटेंट कंजम्पशन के युग में आने वाले डिकेड्स में इस प्लेटफॉर्म की भूमिका और भी महत्वपूर्ण होगी। पूरे देश में एक बड़ा चेंज जो मेरे जैसा गांव से आया आदमी देखता है, रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स में भारी संख्या में वृद्धि हुई। इनमें से कई नए निवेशक यंग इंडियंस हैं और ऐसे नए युवाओं में रियल इन्वेस्टर्स में फाइनेंशियल अवेयरनेस के प्रति, जानने के प्रति बहुत चाहत है। बिजनेस और फाइनेंशियल डेवलपमेंट्स को कॉन्टेक्चुअलाइज करना, पर्सनल फाइनेंस को सिंप्लीफाई करना बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण काम है। ऐसे समय में मनी कंट्रोल जैसा अग्रणी ऑनलाइन पोर्टल निश्चित रूप से युवा पीढ़ी को जरूरी जानकारी प्रदान करेगा। मैं आपसे शेयर करना चाहूंगा। आज भारत अपनी विकास यात्रा के ऐतिहासिक दौर में है और लगभग 2-3 साल पहले हमने बहुत ही दुनिया के मशहूर थिंकर्स में से एक किशोर महबूबानी, जिनके बारे में आप जानते होंगे, जिनकी बड़ी मशहूर किताबें हैं और दुनिया के टॉप थिंकर्स में से गिने जाते हैं, सिंगापुर के डिप्लोमेट जो यूएस में पहले एम्बेसडर थे, लगभग 3 वर्षों पहले फरीद जकरिया से बातचीत में कहा कि आई डोंट नो हाउ, मैं अपनी स्मृति से आपको बता रहा हूं, पर ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदी ने भारत को जगा दिया और ये टाइम और टाइड भारत के पक्ष में है। आज जब दुनिया के दूसरे देशों में हम सबको जाने का मौका मिलता है तो भारत के डेवलपमेंट का जो वर्णन हम वहां सुनते हैं वो हमें गौरव देता है। तो भारत आज ऐसे विकास यात्रा के दौर में है जब दुनिया अनिश्चितताओं का सामना कर रही है। भारत सरकार विभिन्न चुनौतियों से निपटने और आर्थिक विकास को बढ़ावा देने के प्रति संकल्पबद्ध है। हम निकट भविष्य में $5 ट्रिलियन की अर्थव्यवस्था तक पहुंचने की आकांक्षा रखते हैं और 2047 तक यह देश विकसित बने, यह सपना आज देश के कोने कोने तक पहुंच गया। इस विकास पथ में पर्याप्त हमें इन्वेस्टमेंट की जरूरत है। सरकार ने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर, उसके डेवलपमेंट पर खास तौर से ध्यान दिया। इस फाइनेंशियल ईयर में सरकार का कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर 11 लाख करोड़ से अधिक। पिछले वर्ष यह कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर लगभग 10.5 लाख करोड़ था। लेकिन भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था में तेजी से और आगे बढ़ने के लिए प्राइवेट सेक्टर इन्वेस्टमेंट की बड़ी क्रिटिकल और अहम भूमिका है और फैमिली रन बिजनेस इस यात्रा का महत्वपूर्ण हिस्सा है। वे हमारे जीडीपी का लगभग 2/3 कंट्रीब्यूट करते हैं, लाखों लोगों को रोजगार देते हैं और काफी इन्फ्लुएंशियल हैं। यहां मौजूद आप में से कई लोग इस तरह की भूमिका निभा रहे हैं और आने वाले दिनों में और निभाएंगे। मनी कंट्रोल फैमिली बिजनेस अवार्ड्स के विजेताओं का देश के आर्थिक विकास में बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण योगदान रहा है। साथ ही उन्होंने अपने सोशल कंट्रीब्यूशन से समाज को आगे ले जाने में अहम भूमिका निभाई है। कई पुराने फैमिली बिजनेस हाउसेज ने भारत के फ्रीडम स्ट्रगल में अपनी सोशल कमिटमेंट्स का बहुत बड़ा उनकी विरासत और लिगेसी है और उदाहरण दिया है। इकोनॉमिक लिबरलाइजेशन के बाद हालांकि फॉरेन कैपिटल मार्केट में आना शुरू हुआ, लेकिन भारत में यह फैमिली लेड बिजनेस की स्टेबिलिटी, ट्रस्ट और कंसिस्टेंसी ही थी जिसने भारत की ग्रोथ स्टोरी को आगे बढ़ाया, जिसे हम हिंदू रेट ऑफ ग्रोथ पहले कहते थे। आज भारत यहां जमकर पहुंचा, जम करके उसमें फैमिली बिजनेस हाउसेस का बहुत बड़ा रोल रहा है। लेकिन पिछले 3 दशकों में भारत के फैमिली लेड बिजनेस ने डेवलपिंग और डेवलप्ड इकोनॉमीज में बड़े पैमाने पर अपने आइडियाज को इंप्लीमेंट करने में सफलता पाई। मेरी उन्हें बधाई। इससे भी महत्वपूर्ण बात है कि इन अवार्ड्स में जिन बिजनेसेस को रिकॉग्नाइज किया गया है वे कठिन समय के दौर में भी रिजिलियंट रहे और अब और मजबूत स्थिति में खड़े हैं। अनिश्चितता के समय में यह रिजिलियंसी है जिसे दुनिया भर के इन्वेस्टर्स ने या दुनिया के अन्य मुल्कों ने भारत की ताकत के रूप में नोट किया। आज दुनिया भर के इन्वेस्टर्स भारत में निवेश करने और इसके बढ़ते कद से लाभ उठाने के लिए कतार में खड़े हैं। पिछले पुरस्कार विजेताओं और आज सम्मानित होने वालों की सूची और विभिन्न क्षेत्रों में उनके योगदान को देखकर पर्सनली हम सबको गर्व होता है। केवल बड़े बिजनेस हाउसेज ही नहीं, छोटे और मध्यम स्तर की कंपनियां भी देश के विकास में बहुत क्रिटिकल रोल प्ले कर रही हैं। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने नियमित रूप से मेक इन इंडिया और आत्मनिर्भर भारत पर जोर दिया। इस मंच पर रिकॉग्नाइज किए गए बिजनेस भारत को आत्मनिर्भर बनाने के मिशन में सबसे अहम रोल प्ले कर रहे हैं। लीगेसी बिजनेस की यंगर जनरेशन भी इनोवेशन और न्यू अपॉर्चुनिटीज क्रिएट करने में उतनी ही उत्सुकता और इंपॉर्टेंट रोल में लगी है। आज कई स्टार्टअप टेक्नोलॉजी लेड सर्विसेज विभिन्न क्षेत्रों में कॉम्प्लेक्स प्रॉब्लम्स को सॉल्व कर रहे हैं। इनके लिए कैपिटल की आवश्यकता होती है, उसका भी प्रबंध कर रहे हैं। फैमिली हाउसेज एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप को बढ़ावा देने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है और यह वाइब्रेंट स्टार्टअप कम्युनिटी में भी रिफ्लेक्ट होता है। भारत के लीगेसी बिजनेसेस और फैमिली लेड बिजनेस का फिलॉन्थ्रफी में बड़ा योगदान रहा है। भारत में बिजनेस हमेशा से अपने सोशल ऑब्लिगेशंस के प्रति हमेशा अवेयर रहे हैं। फिलैंथ्रोपिक फंडिंग पिछले कुछ सालों में और मैच्योर हुई है और बढ़ी है। फैमिली फिलैंथ्रोपी में पिछले साल में 15% की इंक्रीज हुई है और अगले 5 वर्षों में इससे और तेजी से बढ़ने की उम्मीद है। इनका प्रभाव ग्रास रूट लेवल पर हेल्थ और एजुकेशनल इंडिकेटर्स को बेहतर बनाने के लिए इंप्लीमेंट किए जा रहे आइडियाज में दिखाई देता है और वहां हो रहे परिवर्तन में भी दिखाई देता है। अपनी फिलैंथ्रोपिक फंडिंग के द्वारा यह फैमिली लेड बिजनेस देश, राज्य और लोकल बॉडी लेवल पर सरकारी अधिकारियों के साथ मिलकर वे काम करते हैं। इससे ग्राउंड लेवल पर इस स्टेट कैपेसिटी में और सुधार हुआ और सरकार के पॉलिसी प्रोग्राम्स को मदद मिली है। आज दुनिया टेक्नोलॉजी और एआई के इस्तेमाल के कारण तेजी से बदल रही है। आने वाले समय में आप सभी को ग्रीन टेक्नोलॉजीज में इनोवेट करने और ग्लोबल मार्केट में विस्तार करने के काफी अवसर मिलेंगे। यह हम सबके लिए गर्व की बात है कि हमारे कई व्यावसायिक समूहों ने भारत की इस एनर्जी ट्रांजिशन जर्नी में रिन्यूएबल इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स जैसे क्षेत्रों में निवेश किया है। आगे चलकर सस्टेनेबिलिटी दुनिया भर में इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ का एक बड़ा ही प्रमुख और अहम अंडरलाइंग थीम है। मुझे यकीन है कि हमारे इंडियन बिजनेस की रिस्क टेकिंग एबिलिटी और इनोवेशंस इन इमर्जिंग सेक्टर्स में भी दिखेंगे। भारत सरकार ने समय से कानूनों में नियमित रूप से संशोधन करके बिजनेस फ्रेंडली पॉलिसीज को प्रमोट किया। इसके साथ कई रेगुलेटरी कंसर्न्स को भी एड्रेस किया। एक बड़ा बिजनेस चलाते समय सरकार से पॉलिसी स्टेबिलिटी की उम्मीद की जाती है। पहले के वर्षों में पॉलिसी अनसर्टेनिटी के कारण कई प्राइवेट सेक्टर इन्वेस्टमेंट्स रुके रहे, लेकिन पिछले 10 वर्षों में सरकार द्वारा देश में ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस पर ज्यादा जोर दिया गया और इस विषय में सरकार ने लगातार संसद में कई कानूनों का संशोधन किया, साथ साथ नए कानून भी बनाए। उदाहरण के लिए जब हम अपनी एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी और एनर्जी ट्रांजिशन की बात करते हैं तो इस क्षेत्र में प्राइवेट सेक्टर को प्रोत्साहित करने की आवश्यकता है। अभी मैं आपके बीच संसद से, राज्यसभा से आ रहा हूं सीधे। आज ही राज्यसभा में ऑयल फील्ड रेगुलेशन अमेंडमेंट बिल पर चर्चा हमने की और उसको एक स्वरूप दिया। पिछले कुछ वर्षों में नए कानूनों को बनाने के अलावा कई ऑब्सलीट और रिडंडेंट लॉज रिपील किए गए। संसद ने 2023 में जन विश्वास विधेयक को पारित किया, जिसमें अलग अलग क्षेत्रों में कई सारे पेनल प्रोविजंस को डीक्रिमिनलाइज किया। पिछले 10 सालों में संसद ने लगभग 2000 ऑब्सलीट लॉज को रिपील किया। ऐसे चेंजेस न केवल फॉरेन कैपिटल को अट्रैक्ट करेंगे, यह हमारे अपने डोमेस्टिक बिजनेस को भी फ्रीली ऑपरेट करने में सक्षम बनाएंगे। आज जब हम भारत के फैमिली बिजनेस के रिमार्केबल अचीवमेंट्स को सेलिब्रेट कर रहे हैं तो हमें याद रखना होगा कि हमारे देश की समृद्धि और स्थिरता इन बिजनेस हाउसेज के कंट्रीब्यूशन से बहुत ही जुड़ी हुई है। आपका काम एस्पिरेशनल इंडिया की नई पीढ़ी के लिए इनोवेट करने, रेजिलिएंट बनाने और कॉम्पिटिटिव मार्केट्स में सफल होने के लिए बहुत ही प्रेरक होगा। यहां उपस्थित आप सभी को बधाई देता हूं। आपका काम का प्रभाव केवल बिजनेस तक ही सीमित नहीं, बल्कि आप भारत के भविष्य का निर्माण कर रहे हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Harivansh ji, for that very, very inspiring address. I'm sure it will inspire the builders on this room to keep building and make impact. Kindly stay on stage. I would now like to call upon 2 of our jury members to come up on stage. Gaurav Dalmia, Chairman Dalmia Group Holdings, and Sonu Basin, founder of FAB, to join us on stage for the next set of awards. Please come on stage. Okay, are we ready? In the mega category, that's the next category.
In the category of mega, annual turnover between 1,000 to 5,000 crore rupees.
So in the mega category for the first award, most innovative, disruptive and transformational, the winner is...
In the category of mega, most innovative, disruptive and transformational, the winner is Tilak Nagar Industries Limited.
Huge round of applause, and may I invite on stage Major General Dr. Dilawar Singh, Director, Tilak Nagar Industries, to come up and collect the award. Huge round of applause. Can we get a picture? Many congratulations, Tilak Nagar Industries. Moving on, in the mega category, okay, moving on, in the mega category, the Best Governance Award goes to.
In the category of Mega, Best Governance, the winner is Inox Group, Inox CVA and Inox Air Products.
Well, the Inox Group needs absolutely no introduction. May I invite on stage Sandeep Divekar and Puneet Gupta from Inox Air Products. Let's keep the applause going in the room. Many congratulations to the Inox Group. Congratulations. Huge round of applause. Next up, in the Best Family Business in this category, the winner is...
In the category of Mega, Best Family Business, the winner is Safe Express Private Limited.
Please invite on stage Rubal Jain, Managing Director, and Shweta Goyla, AVP Safe Express Private Limited, to come up and collect the award. Is Divya Jain here? Congratulations, Rubal. Moving on, we come to the Giga category.
In the category of Giga, annual turnover over 5,000 crore rupees.
The first winner in the Giga category, the most innovative, disruptive and transformational award, the winner is...
In the category of Giga, most innovative, disruptive and transformational, jury select. The winner is Alchem Laboratories Limited.
May I invite on stage Arnab Pandey and Kapil Kharna to come up and collect the award. Congratulations, Alchem. India's most respected businesses being honored. Congratulations, Alchem. Moving on, for the next Giga category, Best Governance, the winner is...
In the category of Giga, Best Governance, the winner is Thermax Limited.
Please invite on stage Samina Khalid to come up and collect the award. Last but not the least, in the Giga category for the best family business, the award goes to...
In the category of Giga, Best Family Business, the winner is KRBL Limited, India Gate.
Please invite on stage Anil Kumar Mittal, Chairman and Managing Director, along with Arun Kumar Gupta and Anup Kumar Gupta, Joint MDs, Ashish Mittal, Kunal Gupta, Ayush Gupta and Akshay Gupta from KRBL. We have a full representation. Congratulations to all of them. Huge round of applause for the KRBL family. May I now call upon Soumya Rajan, founder and CEO, Waterfield Advisors, and all jury members to join us on stage along with Harivanshji for the Jury Special Award. Please come up, Soumya. And the Jury Special Next Gen Business Award goes to...
Special recognition by the jury.
And the winner is...
Special recognition by the jury. Next Gen Family Business goes to GFCL EV Products Limited.
Please invite on stage Anshuman Agarwal from GFCL to come up and collect the award. Applause to all our winners. Thank you very much, Harivanshji, Sonu Bhasinji, Dalmiaji, and Soumya for coming up on stage and felicitating the winners. Thank you very much. Huge round of applause for our guests this evening. Now, earlier this evening, you heard from the young guns of India Inc. We are now going to hear from the elder statesmen of India Inc., a name that stands for endurance, quality, and excellence. A fireside chat with Sunil Kant Munjal, Chairman, the Hero Enterprise. He's going to be talking about the role of families in modern businesses. And to moderate this chat, may I welcome Bodhisattva Ganguly, Group Consulting Editor, Network 18. Huge round of applause, Delhi. Welcome, Mr. Munjal, to the Indian Family Business Awards.
So thank you, Chandra, for that intro. And so let me, I'll just go back to, family business is a vast area. It's a new initiative of the Money Control and CNBC to recognize family businesses. But let me start out with one aspect which was touched along in some of the panels earlier, which was, many Indian business houses or Indian business owners have set up family offices because obviously they have now accumulated a large amount of capital. Now, one of the, as I think Dr. Jitendra Singh said, that India now has the world's third largest number of startups, right? So, and these startups have traditionally relied on capital from venture capital funds and, the famous American venture capital funds in most cases, PE funds and so on. So can Indian family offices emerge as an alternative provider of equity capital or indeed even other kinds of capital to Indian startups?
So first, let me compliment you, Bodhi, and the team at Money Control for recognizing family-owned businesses. This is a category often misunderstood, and the role that they play in the economy, in the overall ecology of the world, actually. It's not just an Indian phenomena, it's not just an Asian phenomena, it is a global phenomena. And India too, well, maybe if you have a question later, I'll talk a little bit about this, why they are, while they're like other businesses, they're also quite unique. So family offices are a somewhat new phenomena in India. While some of the old established businesses did set up offices, one misunderstanding that still exists is that the role of family office is only to provide funding. I think that's a mistake we are making right now. They have a much larger role to play. And in a sense, It's the anchor of the family-owned business.
Right.
There are more and more families across the globe now which are putting their smartest people to manage the family rather than the business. And the family office therefore becomes an even more critical role within the overall family business. So family offices have already become an important source of funding, but they will not be the only source. So angel networks, VC funds for larger enterprises, private equity, all of them will remain in play. But increasingly, the role being played by family offices is critical because it's not just money. It's also a huge amount of expertise and mentorship that's available to the early stage companies.
Are there any regulatory changes which you would like to see to make family offices, make things easier for family offices?
Many, not just a few actually. So some years ago, I had taken a note to Arun Jaitley to encourage early stage companies and startup companies. And it had, I'm trying to remember, it had some 28 points on it. So after a few days, he called me saying, I've had a conversation. The Prime Minister is very happy. We are thinking of announcing this as a startup policy of India. I said, this is fantastic. As a country, one of our single biggest challenges is sustainable economic opportunities and jobs. Because the 250 million people who are still living in poverty, there's no magic wand that you have. And job creation is not done by large enterprises world over, by the way. Because their attempt is to build more efficiency, more productivity, more automation, more robotics, thereby cutting down on jobs. But in the ecosystem that they create of small enterprises, mid-sized enterprises, and new enterprises, that's where all the jobs are. And you need those as a country. So he said, oh, we're going to launch this scheme, and we're going to pick 12 things from this list, or 14 things. I said, okay, yeah. Why the hell would you pick only 12 or 14? Why not all 28 points? He's saying, yes, sarkar hai, aaste aaste ho jayega. You know? So they did announce the scheme, and the scheme actually did pretty well, but pretty soon there was a pushback from these early stage companies saying, things are not okay. You need to look at the regulation. So I'm not talking of only the startups, but a lot of that is to do with the supporters and the funders of startups, which is the family offices. Now, the family offices, as I was saying, have actually a much bigger role in my mind, is maintaining balance in the family, ensuring the culture of the family is maintained, because very often we forget the big role of families is not only to run a business. It is to be the custodians of the culture of the family, which then must be passed on generation after generation after generation, thereby creating some kind of order in families, because you have a built-in conflict. By its very nature, families are socialist. By its very nature, business is not.
Right.
It's capitalist in its nature. So there's a built-in conflict already. So the family office actually is supposed to play that role as the single most important role to maintain the balance between the two.
So let me then get into that. You of course belong to a storied business family. So are Indian family offices actually doing that? Or are we still in the very, very early stages?
No, absolutely. You know, the interesting thing I'll tell you, and I see some of the bankers out here, we said we will get some advisors to work with us. We called 14 of the top so-called family office experts to make pitches to us.
Right.
Not one was doing the full role of a family office. And which was a bit sad for me. It was a bit of a surprise, but it was also a little bit sad. So we decided we would do everything ourselves. So whether it's to provide legal services within the organization, whether it's to provide the balance as I was talking about, there's many nuanced things that a family office is expected to do, not just be only a funder. The funding bit is being done exceedingly well, I have to say. That part has become, it's on a roll right now, because some of the families saw that those who funded early stage companies in the early days, some of them did exceedingly well. Some of them became very public, and that became a thing to do. It actually became fashionable. So I don't know of any family amongst my friends where one of the youngsters is not saying, oh, I want to do this new business. I want to invest in this, or I want to do this myself. So I'm glad it's fashionable, because we need to encourage more and more of this, but not only this.
So basically the ecosystem in India is quite weak. The legal system and other kinds of ecosystem are quite weak in India, you're saying right now. So let me, you've been, again, you've been part of a family settlement of the Hero Group, which was done several years back. You were also an investor in some startups, in e-commerce and all that, and you may not want to talk about which particular ones. But from your long experience as a member of one of India's foremost business families, being part of the family settlement, what is the advice that you would give to people who are now setting up companies, who are founders, who are company founders? What is the advice that you would give them? What are the learnings?
So you have asked a question which can take about a week to answer, by the way. But I'll tell you the two things I think which do matter. One is communication. The importance of communication is often not understood enough. Within families, now I'm going back to family business first, and then I'll come to the startups, because they are two different animals. Within families, we tend often not to share everything, either because we feel the other person may not be able to hold the confidence, or we don't have confidence in that individual herself or himself. Also, when differences spring up in families, as they often do between any 2 or 3 or 4 people, if you have an open communication channel, especially between different generations, and especially between working and non-business working members, I think many things get resolved at a very early stage through open communication. The issues are not very different, and I've studied this subject world over for the last 30, 35 years. The issues are, oh, so-and-so's daughter-in-law's got a more expensive jewelry set or a shawl, or so-and-so's home is bigger than mine, or this one's kid had a wedding which was a bigger splash than the other wedding. So these are actually, most of it are human issues, and they need to be handled differently from business issues, but they do need to be handled. And if you can maintain open communication, I think you would have done yourself a great service. And the second point that you spoke about startups is the startups need to remember that they are building a business where it's not just themselves as founders, but a large number of people who will get engaged and involved in the business. Therefore, governance is the key. Good process is important. Ensuring that you're structured right is critical, especially and even at the early days, which again we feel that, oh, it's only a startup, we can fix it later on. Startup in any case is like, jumping out of a plane without a parachute and trying to construct a parachute, hoping before you hit the ground, the damn thing will open up and you'll have a soft landing. They have a hard enough life as is. So if the process around them and the ecosystem around them can be made a little bit better, I think that will reduce some of the friction that currently exists. Industry in India has, in any case, worked in a tough environment, as you know. And for startups, they do not have either the expertise or the resource to be able to constantly push against the system, which requires you constantly to be responding to queries and questions and forms to be filled out.
Okay. So let me ask you, you also have an interest in corporate governance. So again, this question, again, there was a reference in one of the earlier panels to some of the failures of startups, especially a couple of, I don't want to put the names, but they're well known in the edtech sector in terms of, and possibly the reason for that, and please step in if I'm wrong, is that the startup founder was really a larger-than-life personality, and there's really no one to say or to contradict him. There was no second line of leadership. By the way, this need not be a phenomenon which happens only in startups. It can happen in old economy companies as well. But again, what is your take on that? What would you advise? What are the structures that can be put in place in the context of startups or even otherwise?
You know, we run a university just outside Delhi. We set it up in my father's name. And we've done some unusual stuff there. It's set up like an American liberal arts university. But we made 5 of the electives compulsory for everybody. The first compulsory elective is ethics and moral dilemma. When it was suggested, our own teams pushed back saying, oh, this is not supposed to be taught in college. I said, I agree. It's not supposed to be taught in school either. You're supposed to learn it when you're 2 years old, looking at the way people around you behave. But is there a problem or is there not? And if there is, and we can do just a little bit to help, I think that would be a great public service. So it's not a startup phenomena. It is a phenomena. So we have a serious issue right now because this is a cultural issue and it's also a little bit of an inherited issue. Because we are coming from a system where a small minority was trying to run a country that was against them. And I'm now talking of British times, by the way.
Right, right.
So every regulation in India was designed assuming you're going to do the wrong thing. So there's patent mistrust in our entire regulation system. When we started off as an Indian government, we continued with the same system. It's only now that we've started to address saying self-attestation is okay. Otherwise, if you remember, not too far back, you had to go and get a form that you filled up. You needed a gazetted officer to sign that you're saying that you are saying the right thing. I think it's stupid for us to not believe in ourselves as a country. I think as a nation, and this is one of the big moves I think that we need to do, we need to build trust-based systems which are easy, which are transparent, which are open, but which crack down hard and impartially when there is something that is crooked. Malintent is the only thing that should be punished, not mistakes. We end up clubbing all of them together right now. Mistakes only need to be corrected.
Okay, we have a hard stop in about 5 minutes.
But you're right that many startups have earned this reputation of being very poorly governed, which is actually also scared of some of the funding investors and financing institutions. They've started to lie low, or they've started to become very, very selective. They will ask 20 questions before they're willing to write a check now. Very different from the way they were when this started. Maybe it's a good thing, actually.
Yeah. Sure. Okay, we have a hard stop in about 5 minutes, so I'll just go through a couple of quick questions. One is, again, coming back to family offices, there is a perception that Gen X is, the next generation really, is not that interested in running particularly old economy companies. What are your views? Is this correct?
So 2 different aspects. One, there's enough research now across the globe to show that about 94% businesses destroy themselves. I'm talking about only family-owned businesses. They will destroy themselves and the business by the 3rd generation. And by the way, even by the 2nd generation, that number is well over 60%. Part of it is because the bringing up is different. When the 1st generation struggles, they actually go and create these enterprises. The 2nd generation often grows up in an environment which is already wealthy, and often they become entitled. And that is a very dangerous thing. And that entitlement then puts them in a position where they become choosy. I will do this and I will not do this. And it's not across all the enterprises, but it has been seen in many cases where they say, I want to do something, but I want to do something new. And in today's time and age, that new stuff is new age, is tech-driven. In some sense, I would say they are also right because they have much more exposure to technology. They are tech-native citizens. They're born in that environment. They grow up in that environment. For them, this is self-evident. For us, we still have to learn this stuff.
Right.
So it's a little bit of, you have to look at the coin on 2 sides.
Right. Okay, one last question. You've been a past president of CII. You've been on many committees, the Narsimhan committee of 30 years back, the Kelkar committee. So in the context of what's happening in the US, does India need its own Doge?
So does Indian government system and spending need to become more efficient? Of course it does. But do you need a separate office for that? You know, this is the debate we've had ongoing since the early 90s, since the reform program began, is to simplify things. Should you put another committee? Or should you cut back? There was an interesting conversation one day, I remember, which was going to be designed exactly only for this. That let's create a committee which will help us cut down the regulations. I said, what about guys already in there? Why don't you pick some of those and give this role to them? They are the experts. They already know what they're doing, and they would also be best positioned. In Missouri, interestingly, they started a program on this for the bureaucrats who get trained there to how to bring down regulation was being taught. So I do think we need, there was let me roll back a little bit. McKinsey, BCG, Bain, all the big consulting firms have worked with either state governments or central government to bring in productivity, efficiency, improvement, better spend in many of the departments. And some of it actually has been pretty good work. Can we do it ourselves? Probably can. But we are so used to the current system that it always needs a little bit of a shake-up for us to relook at stuff. This very Prime Minister, when he came, if you remember, the first thing he said was very interesting. He said, we want less government and more governance. Yeah. The question we have to ask ourselves is, how much of that have we got?
Right, right. Minimum government, maximum governance was the words. Right. One last, okay, I think we are out of time, so let's wind up. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Mujal.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Huge round of applause for Mr. Sunil Kant Munjal. That was a very riveting conversation with Bodhi. Thank you very much. The Hero Group story and journey is hugely inspiring, and I hope all of you had a lot of insights to take away from that conversation. With that, it's time to welcome our next esteemed guest of honor this evening, India's G20 Sherpa and former Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant. Please welcome Mr. Kant on stage with a huge round of applause to deliver a special keynote.
I'm truly delighted to be here. So, actually, I just got invited at the last minute. Mr. Javed invites all these ministers, and when they don't turn up, they turn towards me. And so, I'm like Einstein, Einstein had won this Nobel Prize, and he'd gone around speaking all over the United Kingdom. He'd given over 400 speeches, and wherever he'd go, his driver would accompany him. And then he got invited to Stanford University in USA, and his driver accompanied him to Stanford, and he said, his driver told him, yeah, I've heard you speak 400 times, nobody knows you in the United States. I can deliver a better speech than you can ever give. So Einstein said, okay. He said, you speak like a scientist, I'll speak like a real professional. So they went to the Stanford University, and this driver sat in packed hall. The dean was sitting in the center. He gave a brilliant speech, really astounding speech. Everybody got up and clapped, and they said they've never heard a speech like this. And then this dean said, now ladies and gentlemen, after such a fascinating speech, we'll now have a question-answer session. And he turned to the brightest and the most brilliant student of the class, who asked him a really tough, very complex question. A very, very complex question, to which this driver said, young man, your question is so easy, so simple, that even my driver sitting in the audience can reply. So I'll speak, but if you have any questions, please turn to the minister, whom Mr. Javed had invited and who has not turned up today. So I'm truly delighted to be here, first and foremost, because I really think that family-owned businesses are very significant to India's growth story, and if India is to grow at high rates of 8 to 9% per annum over 3 decades, or if India is to become a Viksit Bharat, And Viksit Bharat means that India's GDP has to grow from $4 trillion to $30 trillion. And that means that your GDP has to grow 9x, your per capita income has to grow 8x, and your manufacturing has to grow 16x. That is the challenge before India. And my belief is that this can't be done without family-owned businesses because they contribute over 75% of India's GDP. And my view is that family-owned businesses have actually outperformed the non-family businesses. Their performance actually has been about they've totally outperformed non-family businesses. Their performance has actually been 4.5% higher revenue growth compared to non-family businesses. And much of India's diversification into many new areas of growth has happened because of very successful family-owned businesses. And what India's family-owned businesses have also demonstrated that they are capable of good governance, which is critical. They are also capable of very effective succession. And this, to my mind, both governance and effective succession are critical for sustained success. It's important for growth and important to adapt in a very changing market dynamics. And, actually the family-owned businesses have also transformed radically. They have influence across industries. Many decades back, Rahul Bajaj had said that if you have to, even a 5 rupee check has to be issued with my permission only. But look at the way his sons, Rajiv Bajaj in the two-wheeler bike segment, etc., and Sanjeev Bajaj in the finance sector, how they've brought in professional management of a very professional variety. And therefore, what has happened is that the most valuable family businesses in India have very radically brought in good professional managers across the board, and they've made a huge difference. So I've always believed that in India's what I would term as a very collectivist society, which is rooted in strong family ties and community values, it has profoundly impacted its economic landscape and this has largely been possible only because of family-owned businesses playing a very pivotal role in India's development story. And if it wasn't for the family-owned businesses, India would not have laid a very strong foundation of growth. And my view has been that in the last decade also, when India has moved towards last decade has been really a good growth story of India, the adaptability of these businesses and the community-oriented approach has bolstered economic growth, and it has in many ways enhanced social stability also in India. I've been a long-term believer that the evolution of family businesses in India is most evident in their ability to diversify and innovate, and several top-performing family-owned businesses achieve substantial scale through diversification across various sectors. I see Mr. Burman sitting here, and that's a great example of a family owned business actually professionalizing, and they keep their hands off, but they get the best chief executives to manage, and they live on great dividends because of good chief executives. So I've always believed that the route to great family leadership is to bring in good professional management, to ensure operational efficiency, encourage innovation, ensuring that you focus on outcomes, and ensure that values and ethos of the business endure across generations. And that is really about keeping a good mix of both tradition and modernity. So I really think that the most valuable family businesses in India show us that their impact spans across multiple industries. that has actually that has benefited India's growth story, I would say. And the strong performance of the family businesses and substantial role in global markets demonstrates that when businesses can effectively balance their family heritage with strategic business practices, they gain substantial market valuation and profoundly influence the trajectory of India's own economic growth story. So as India continues to emerge as a global economic powerhouse, the role of family-owned businesses will, to my mind, continue to remain even more critical in shaping India's future. I wish the family-owned businesses all success, and I'm really glad that Money Control has decided to honor some of them and to have a great discussion on family-owned businesses, because they are the real, actually many people have not given credit, but if 75% of India's GDP comes from family-owned businesses, they are the real drivers of India's growth story. And at least I feel very proud of family-owned businesses in India. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
As Mr. Kant rightly said, family businesses are the lifeblood of the country. So a huge, huge round of applause to all the business families gathered here. Mr. Kant, I also want to assure you that we did have a minister. Javed managed to get a minister as well. So, but you are like our, the good shagun that has to be there at a Money Control event, because you instantly uplift any event that we host. So thank you very much for making it, sir. Right. I'm going to request you to stay on stage to felicitate the final set of winners. I'd also like to call on stage Soumya Rajan from Waterfield Advisors. And this event wouldn't have been possible, in fact, without Waterfield Advisors and our process partner, PwC. So a huge round of applause to them as well for backing up this event dedicated to family businesses. Right, our last category is something that's very close to all editors at Network 18, because this is the editorial recognition category.
Editorial recognitions.
So this is a category that we unveiled last year, where all the top editors at Money Control and Network 18 handpick winners in a couple of categories for their immense contribution to their industry and to the country. And the first winner in this category, the Next Gen Leader Award. The winner is...
The award for Next Gen Leader goes to Jinal Mehta, Torrent
all
Power.
the way from Ahmedabad, Jinal Mehta. May I invite on stage Jinal Mehta to collect the award. Torrent Power, based in Ahmedabad, is one of India's leading power utility companies. 40-year-old Jinal Mehta is overseeing its transition to a green energy behemoth. Torrent Group has also committed a whopping 5,000 crore in the next 5 years, starting from April 1st, 2024, for charities in the field of healthcare, education, ecology, arts and culture, and social services, as the group celebrates the birth centenary of its founder, UN Mehta. Jinal, if I can request you to stay on stage. Can we get a mic for Jinal, please? We don't often get you in Delhi. You don't... Right, if you can pass the mic to Jinal, hearty congratulations. Thank you very much for coming to Delhi to collect this award. One of your biggest ambitions at the helm of Torrent Power is to oversee its transition to green energy. Tell us a little about that.
So at Torrent, we are present across thermal generation and renewable generation. Our ambitions are to significantly scale up our renewable generation portfolio. At this point, it's about 30% of our overall existing generation capacity is renewables. Going forward, 80% of what we set up will likely be renewable energy projects and storage solutions. So our ambition is to scale up our current capacity from about 1,600 megawatts of renewable energy to 10 gigawatts by 2030, and to also add 5 gigawatts of pump storage hydro capacity, which was these energy storage solutions. And of course, we continue to focus on our thermal generation business, our transmission business, and our power distribution business. So those will be our growth drivers.
Right. Huge congratulations. Best of luck for those targets. But just one more question. You recently announced, that the Torrent Group will commit 5,000 crore over the next 5 years to various philanthropic initiatives to celebrate the birth centenary of Torrent Group founder UN Mehta. That's a massive commitment. Tell us a little about that.
Sure. So our founder, Shri UN Mehta, always believed to give back to the society, and including in his lifetime, he supported many causes and set up many institutes. And in his honor, we recently celebrated his birth centenary, and our family decided that the best way we could honor his legacy was to significantly increase our contribution to charitable causes. The family has been supporting many initiatives over the past few years, but we decided to enhance the corpus significantly, and most of the money that will be donated over the next 5 years will go towards causes in education, healthcare, and social well-being.
Amazing initiative. A huge round of applause for that. That's compassionate capitalism at its best. Hearty congratulations, Jinal.
Thank you so much.
Right, and that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to our final award of the evening. We've indeed saved the best for last. The Lifetime Achievement Award in editorial recognition goes to...
The honor of the Lifetime Achievement Award goes to Dr. Anand Burman, Chairman Emeritus,
Huge round of
Dabur,
applause for
India.
Dr. Anand Burman. Can we give him a standing ovation, please? Dr. Anand Burman, the 5th generation scion of the Burman family, who led Dabur as chairman for more than a decade. He started the non-profit Sandesh, which works for healthcare and education. He's also a patron of the arts and has supported various cultural initiatives. Huge round of applause, a standing ovation for Dr. Anand Burman. I believe his son Aditya Burman is also here. Aditya, if you can join him on stage for a photograph. And one of you please take a picture for Aditya. Very emotional moment there. Dr. Burman, if we can we get a mic for Dr. Burman, please, on stage? Dr. Burman, thank you very much. Hearty congratulations. If you can tell us a few words about what this award means to you.
Well, to be very honest with you, thank you very much for this award. I feel very humbled by it, but I'm not really the real recipient of this award. The award actually goes to the efforts by my family first, and our countless colleagues over the years, past and present, who have led us to this stage to actually, this as a culmination of
a huge round of applause for the Dabur family then. Dr. Burman, what would your message be for the next gen entrepreneurs in the room in terms of how they can contribute in keeping the family flag flying high, at the same time innovating, dealing with disruption?
To be honest with you, for the next gen, I don't have to say anything. They're doing way better than I'm doing right now to start with.
Right. On that note, thank you very much, sir, for joining us on
you.
stage. Thank you, Mr. Khan and Soumya.
Thanks. Thanks.
Right. What an evening it has been, ladies and gentlemen. But the party doesn't end here. In fact, if we have all the winners in the room, if you can come up on stage for a photograph, that'll be great. Jinal and And the winners in the other categories as well. If they are in the room, please come up on stage for a picture. Please come, please come. Soumya, if you can join them as well. May I request all winners across categories to come up on stage for a photograph. Please come up, ma'am. Invite the jury members, Sonu Basin, Mr. Dalmia, Soumya. If there are any winners outside, please come up on stage. We're taking a final photo op this evening. I believe we have another winner. Please come up on stage for a photograph. Right, a huge round of applause to all our winners this evening. Thank you very much. Up next, we have a musical performance, and please join us for dinner. It's been an amazing evening. Thank you all very much for supporting us this evening at the Waterfield and Money Control Indian Family Business Awards.